what's up guys? It's Chris from Daily Tech, and today we're checking out the Yi 4K Action Cam. Now I've seen a lot of videos comparing this camera to GoPros, and that is not what this video is going to be. Instead, this is going to be an actual review talking about what it's like to use this action cam. Of course, the reason everybody is comparing this to a GoPro is that this little camera competes with the top of the line GoPro for just about half the price. Obviously, like the name implies, this little guy can shoot 4K footage, and that paired up with that price is exactly what caught my attention, and I'm sure lots of other people's attention as well. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the footage, and in this review, I'm only going to be talking about the 4K resolution because personally, I could care less about anything that's lower than that. Now the 4K looks really good for an action camera. Do you see how I put that little disclaimer in? So compared to other action cameras, it does look really good, but compared to something like a Micro Four Thirds camera that can shoot 4K footage, for instance, I tend to find that this footage is a little bit noisy or grainy in certain situations. Now, I personally love that this guy can shoot 4K time lapses, and those look really gorgeous, and it's really easy to change the interval that this takes snaps at. But one thing that did disappoint me was that there's no built-in stabilization on the 4K mode. It is there on the 1080p mode, but it doesn't do any good for somebody with a 4K workflow like me. That said, I do find that shots taken with the selfie stick in 4K mode actually look pretty good, even without that stabilization. And speaking of that selfie stick, the handle on this guy is almost ridiculously smooth. I mean, I have no idea why they chose to make it so slippery. It's definitely usable, but there's so little grip that I'm just left wondering why. Also, trying to attach the selfie stick remote to the selfie stick itself was one of the most frustrating things that I've done all year. It's a giant pain. But anyways, for the overall picture quality, I'd give this guy 7.9 out of 10 possible points. It lost a couple points because I saw so many positive reviews about how good this footage was, and when I actually got it and tried it out myself, I was just slightly disappointed. But either way, I'm definitely gonna end up using this camera quite a bit. Now my favorite feature on this camera is probably the screen. It's pretty big, and it's really nice not having to use an add-on pack just to monitor your footage. And it's also a touchscreen, and that makes selecting footage and changing menu items a total breeze. Unfortunately, fingerprints do show up like crazy on this surface. Now I saw some other reviewers complaining about this screen not being very usable outside, but actually in my testing, I thought it was not that bad. The interface and the menus themselves are really easy to use, but one thing that really bugged me at first was the incredibly loud beeping. So every time you start or stop recording, there's a almost ear-piercing beep, and thankfully you can either turn that down or turn that off. I'd actually say that the app works exceptionally well for viewing footage, controlling the camera, and adjusting settings, but I really resent and really kind of hate the social features that are baked into the app. Not only do you have to do some extra digging to get to the stuff that you actually want to do in the app, but this just tells me this is aimed at consumers rather than professionals. Now, when it comes to audio, the bad news is you can't hook up an external mic. But the good news is that the built-in mic is actually surprisingly good. Now, obviously, it's not as good as using a high-quality external mic. This camera doesn't come with the case right out of the box, although it probably should. It feels solid enough, but if you dropped it, I think you would definitely regret it. And the battery door in particular does seem to be pretty fragile. The good news is you can pick up a case, either waterproof or just kind of a skin, for pretty cheap on Amazon. So there really aren't very many accessories for this camera, and that kind of sucks. It means you're gonna be pretty limited in the kind of shots that you can take. One obvious thing that I think is really cool that you've noticed by now is that this comes in a white option instead of solid black, which, if you know me, I pretty much buy anything that looks like it's colored like a stormtrooper. Let me go ahead and end this review with a quote from the end of Brent Rose's Wired review, because it sums everything up perfectly. There's just nothing original about this camera, at all. The hardware, the software, the features, they were all cribbed from other companies, mostly GoPro. So yeah, of course, it's so much cheaper. You only had to spend a fraction of the R&D money that GoPro did, and frankly, it just feels wrong. It feels like you're supporting plagiarism, and for now, I guess I'm saying, yes, the Yi is better for most consumers, but I just don't feel good about saying it. Ditto. All right, guys, I hope you liked this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and don't forget to check out dailytech.com if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, guys, and I will catch up with you in the next video. Later.
Whoa, 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 whoa.